Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanzib and Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Jill Biden calls on men to support women fighting for rights. Biden to seek more than $2.8 billion from Congress for cancer fight. Three Los Angeles officers wounded, suspect dead in a standoff. Georgia police disperse crowd protesting foreign agent law. GOP leader McConnell remains in hospital after concussion. Judge orders halt to first releases at US border with Mexico. Australia to buy nuclear-powered submarines made in the US. US probes Tesla autopilot steering wheels that can come off. La Nina, which worsens hurricanes and drought, is gone. New atmospheric river storm barrels toward California. Russian missile barrage slams into Ukrainian cities, 6 dead. "14 dead, 54 rescued of Tunisia in migrant boat sinking." Nepal elects new president amid political uncertainty. Netanyahu airlifted to airport after protesters block road. Former NBA star Shawn Kemp arrested in drive-by shooting. Australian PM kicks off India visit with cricket event. And Otani leads Japan in World Classic, Bogarts lifts Dutch. Now news in detail. Jill Biden on Wednesday praised a group of women from around the world, including those who have been protesting against Iran's leaders for showing courage while fighting for their rights, and called on men to be partners with women and support them in their cause. As much as we need women who are willing to speak up, we need more men who are willing to listen and act, the First Lady said. We need more men to hold each other accountable when their sisters are being hurt or left behind, she said at a White House ceremony for the 2023 recipients of the International Women of Courage Awards. We need more men who nurture families, who feed and teach and mentor, who build safer communities. We need more men who know that caring, collaboration, and kindness are signs of strength, not weakness. Men, we need you to support the women who are fighting for their rights and to lift up those who have been silenced, she continued. Be partners with women. Become the men of courage we need. Only then will we be able to build a world where men and women are equal and all people are free. At the ceremony held on International Women's Day, Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken presented awards to 11 recipients from Afghanistan, Argentina, Central African Republic, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mongolia, Poland, and Ukraine. President Joe Biden asked Congress for more than $2.8 billion in the federal budget he sent to Capitol Hill on Thursday to help advance his cancer-fighting goals. More than half of the money, $1.7 billion, would go to the Department of Health and Human Services to support the Democratic president's cancer initiatives across an array of departments and agencies, according to White House officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to share details with the Associated Press before Biden formally unveils his spending blueprint later Thursday in Philadelphia. The funding request would support a cancer moonshot initiative Biden announced last year with the goal of cutting cancer death rates in half over the next 25 years. Biden aims to help close gaps in cancer screenings, better understand and address environmental and toxic exposures associated with certain cancers, and reduce the effects of preventable cancers such as those linked to tobacco and poor nutrition. The initiative also spends money on cutting-edge research and resources to support patients and their caregivers. 3 Los Angeles police officers were shot and wounded Wednesday evening in a confrontation with a wanted parolee who was found dead hours later after a standoff, police said. The 3 officers, all senior officers and members of an Los Angeles Police Department's K-9 dog handling unit, were hospitalized in a stable condition after the shooting that occurred in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood near downtown. The 3 were alert, and Mayor Karen Bass said she had a conversation with 2 of them at the hospital, and they asked her about colleagues who were looking for the suspect. They weren't concerned about themselves, she said at a news conference. Our hearts go out to them for their speedy recovery and also for the trauma that their families are facing right now, Bass said. Officers were looking for a parolee at large at around 4 p.m., but when they found him, he was barricaded in a shed and refused to obey commands to surrender, the department said. Police in the capital of Georgia used water cannons and tear gas late Wednesday to disperse demonstrators around the parliament building protesting a draft law that they say could stifle media freedom and civil society. Lawmakers on Tuesday approved the first reading of the proposed law, which would require media and non-governmental organizations that receive over 20% of their funding from foreign sources to register as agents of foreign influence. More than 60 protesters were arrested outside Parliament in Tbilisi after the approval. The measure is similar to one enacted in Russia in 2012 that has been used to shut down or discredit organizations critical of the government. Opponents see it as potentially obstructing Georgia's stated intention of joining NATO and the European Union one day. The draft law goes directly against the Georgia authorities' declared ambition to receive candidate status for EU membership, said a statement from European Parliament members Maria Kajurand and Esven Mixer, who are top figures in relations with Georgia. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell was absent from the Senate on Thursday after being hospitalized for a fall at a local hotel Wednesday evening. McConnell's office did not provide additional detail on his condition or how long he may be absent. The Kentucky senator was at a dinner for the Senate Leadership Fund, a campaign committee aligned with him, when he tripped. He was admitted to a hospital for treatment, spokesman Doug Andrews said. The dinner was at the Waldorf Astoria, Washington, D.C., formerly the Trump International Hotel, Washington, D.C. We have very limited information, said Senator John Thune of South Dakota. The number 2 Republican, Thune told reporters that he had not spoken to McConnell. He said he was at the dinner and McConnell had delivered remarks as usual. In 2019, the GOP leader tripped and fell at his home in Kentucky, suffering a shoulder fracture. At the time, he underwent surgery to repair the fracture in his shoulder. The Senate had just started a summer recess and he worked from home for some weeks as he recovered. A federal judge Wednesday ordered the Biden administration to end the expedited releases of migrants who entered the United States illegally from Mexico, potentially straining already stretched holding facilities. The order won't take effect for a week to give the government time to appeal. The Homeland Security and Justice Departments had no immediate comment. In declaring a key administration tool illegal, U.S. District Judge T. Kent Witherill offered a scathing review of President Joe Biden's border policies in a 119-page opinion, which followed a January trial in Pensacola, Florida. The administration has effectively turned the southwest border into a meaningless line in the sand and little more than a speed bump for aliens flooding into the country, he wrote. Witherill, an appointee of President Donald Trump, criticized the decision to stop building a border wall, end a policy to make asylum seekers wait in Mexico for hearings in U.S. immigration court, and shift enforcement priorities. He also faulted the administration for ending family detention at the border, a decision that officials have begun to reconsider. Australia will purchase US-manufactured nuclear-powered attack submarines to modernize its fleet, a European official and a person familiar with the matter said Thursday, amid growing concerns about China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. The purchase agreement for Virginia-class submarines will be announced Monday when President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak meet in San Diego for talks on the 18-month-old nuclear partnership known by the acronym AUKUS. The people spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the matter ahead of the announcement. The AUKUS agreement, announced in 2021, paved the way for Australia to get access to nuclear-powered submarines, which are steelier and more capable than conventionally powered boats. The secretly brokered deal included the Australian government's cancellation of a $66 billion contract for a French-built fleet of conventional submarines, which sparked a diplomatic row within the Western alliance that took months to mend. The European official said France had been briefed on the terms of the purchase agreement. Biden spoke with French President Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday, the White House said, adding that they discussed the cooperation between the United States and France in the Indo-Pacific region. The submarines, which cost $3 billion each, are built at shipbuilding plants in Virginia and Connecticut. Under the terms of the agreement, subs would eventually also be built in the UK and in Australia with US technology and support. The person familiar with the matter said. The initial plans called for all of the subs to be constructed in Adelaide, Australia. The US would also step up its port visits in Australia to provide the country with more familiarity with the nuclear-powered technology. US safety regulators are turning up the heat on Tesla, announcing investigations into steering wheels coming off some SUVs and a fatal crash involving a Tesla suspected of using an automated driving system when it ran into a parked fire truck in California. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said Wednesday it is launching a special crash investigation team to probe the February 18 crash involving a Tesla Model S and a ladder truck from the Contra Costa County Fire Department. The fire truck probe is part of a larger investigation by the agency into multiple instances of Teslas using the automaker's autopilot system crashing into parked emergency vehicles that are tending to other crashes. NHTSA has become more aggressive in pursuing safety problems with Teslas in the past year, announcing multiple recalls and investigations. The driver of the 2014 Tesla Model S was killed in the crash and a passenger critically injured. 4 firefighters were treated for minor injuries, and the 1.4 million ladder truck was damaged. After 3 nasty years, the La Nina weather phenomenon that increases Atlantic hurricane activity and worsens western drought is gone, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said Thursday. That's usually good news for the United States and other parts of the world, including drought-stricken Northeast Africa, scientists said. The globe is now in what's considered a neutral condition and probably trending to an El Nino in late summer or fall, said climate scientist Michelle, head of NOAA's El Nino or La Nina forecast office. La Nina is a natural and temporary cooling of parts of the Pacific Ocean that changes weather worldwide. In the United States, because La Nina is connected to more Atlantic storms and deeper droughts and wildfires in the West, La Ninas often are more damaging and expensive than their more famous flip side, El Nino experts said, and studies show. California braced Thursday for the arrival of another atmospheric river that forecasters warned will bring heavy rain, strong winds, thunderstorms, and the threat of flooding to a state still digging out from earlier storms. The flood threat will come from the combination of rain and the melting of parts of the huge snowpack built in California's mountains by 9 atmospheric rivers early in the winter and later storms fueled by a blast of Arctic air. The new atmospheric river is a type known as a Pineapple Express because it is a deep tap of warm subtropical moisture stretching over the Pacific to Hawaii. Its greatest impacts were expected in northern and central California. The snowpack at high elevations is so massive it should be able to absorb the rain, forecasters said, but elevations below 4,000 feet will see melting and runoff. The National Weather Service characterized the flood threat as moderate. Now it's time for global updates. Russia launched a massive barrage of missiles and drones that hit residential buildings and critical infrastructure across Ukraine on Thursday, killing 6 people and leaving hundreds of thousands without heat or electricity. The largest such attack in 3 weeks also put Europe's largest nuclear plant at risk by knocking it off the power grid for hours before it was reconnected. Nuclear plants need constant power to run cooling systems and avoid a meltdown, and the latest threat to the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant once again raised the specter of a nuclear catastrophe. Air raid sirens wailed through the night as the attacks targeted a wide swath of the country, including in western Ukraine, which is far from the front lines. President Vladimir Zelensky said the assault that came while many people slept was an attempt by Moscow to intimidate Ukrainians again. The Russian Defense Ministry said the strikes were in retaliation for a recent incursion into the Bryansk region of western Russia by what Moscow claimed were Ukrainian saboteurs. Ukraine denied the claim and warned that Moscow could use the allegations to justify stepping up its own assaults. At least 14 Africans died and 54 were rescued when a boat in which they were trying to reach Europe sank off the coast of Tunisia, the Tunisian National Guard said Thursday. The 14 bodies were recovered overnight in the Mediterranean Sea of Tunisia's central Sfax region. The National Guard said the migrants were from sub-Sahara Africa but did not release their nationalities. On the same night, Coast Guard vessels thwarted 14 other boats carrying a total of 435 migrants attempting a similar journey from central and southern regions of Tunisia. Jababli said people fleeing conflict or poverty routinely take boats from Tunisian shores toward Europe, even though the central Mediterranean is the most dangerous migration route in the world, according to the International Organization for Migration. Many are from sub-Sahara Africa, but Tunisians and people of other nationalities are also among those risking the journey. Lawmakers in Nepal elected a new president on Thursday as the Himalayan nation faces increasing political instability with a fragile coalition government that has been in power for only a few months. Ramchandra Paudel, a former parliament speaker and senior leader of the opposition Nepali Congress Party, was declared winner after 5 hours of voting, beating his lone opponent, Subhash Chandra Nembang. The president is largely a figurehead with little political power, but the election triggered a feud among partners in the governing alliance headed by Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who took office in December. Dahal backed Paudel, angering his main coalition partner, the Communist Party of Nepal, which backed Nembang, its own candidate. The party has since pulled out of the coalition, threatening the Hul's control. The Hul has now lost the support of three key political parties that were part of its initial coalition government. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had to be airlifted on Thursday to the country's main international airport for an official overseas trip after throngs of cars and protesters prevented him from driving there. The demonstrations were part of nationwide protests underway for more than 2 months against Netanyahu and his government's contentious plan to overhaul the judiciary. Demonstrators had made blocking Netanyahu's route to the airport a centerpiece of their efforts, and the optics of the Israeli leader having to make alternate travel plans were a win for the protest movement. The helicopter ride, far from the snarling traffic triggered by the protest, was also sure to deepen Netanyahu's reputation as being out of touch with Israelis at a time when the country finds itself torn apart over the government plan and the economy is slowing. Thursday's disruptions also disrupted a visit by U.S. Secretary of State Lloyd Austin, whose schedule was rearranged to keep his engagements close to the airport. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,170.05. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 270.59 points or 1.75%. Tokyo stock close price is 28,623.15. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 178.96 points or 0.63%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,276.0937. The Shanghai Composite Index is decreased by 7.15 points or 0.22%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,925.74. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 125.51 points or 0.63%. Bombay stock close price is 59,806.28. The Sensex index is decreased by 541.81 points or 0.90%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Former NBA star Shawn Kemp was arrested and charged in connection with a drive-by shooting in Tacoma, Washington, and was set to appear in court Thursday, a sheriff's official said. Online jail records show Kemp was booked on a felony charge of drive-by shooting shortly before 6 p.m. Wednesday. Pierce County Sheriff spokesman Sergeant Darren Moss said Kemp was scheduled to appear in court Thursday afternoon. Kemp was a 6-time NBA All-Star and played for the Seattle Supersonics from 1989 to 1997. He also played for Cleveland, Portland, and Orlando. Kemp debuted in the NBA during the 1989-90 season as a 20-year-old who had never played college basketball. The Prime Ministers of India and Australia on Thursday lent a touch of cricket diplomacy to their ties as they inaugurated a test match between their two teams in the western city of Ahmedabad. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and his Indian host Narendra Modi handed caps emblazoned with national emblems to rival captains Steve Smith and Rohit Sharma. They clasped their hands and raised them to the delight of thousands of cricket fans. The two prime ministers were cheered by fans as they went around the stadium named after Modi and later sat down to watch the start of the game. Modi and Albanese also saw a photo exhibition highlighting their country's cricketing ties. The India-Australia cricket rivalry is considered one of the most intense in the world, comparable to the Ashes Test series played between England and Australia. Albanese arrived Wednesday in Ahmedabad, a key city in Modi's home state of Gujarat, at the start of a 4-day visit to India. He paid tributes to Mohandas Gandhi, India's independence leader, during a visit to the Sabarmati Ashram, which was one of Gandhi's abodes in India. Albanese later attended a cultural event related to the Hindu Holi festival at the state governor's residence. Shohei Ohtani hit a 2-run double off the left field wall, allowed one hit over 4 innings and got the win, leading Japan over China 8-1 on Thursday night in its opener at the World Baseball Classic. The Los Angeles two-way star struck out 5 and walked none in the Group B game at the Tokyo Dome. His 4th winning double off Wei Wang gave Japan a 3-0 lead. Ohtani retired his first 10 batters before Wei Wang's single in the 4th. Ohtani threw 32 of 49 pitches for strikes. In the other Group B game, Robbie Perkins and Robert Glendening hit 3-run homers to lead Australia over South Korea 8-7. In Group A, Xander Bogaerts and Jurickson Profar homered as the Netherlands beat Panama 3-1 and Italy beat Cuba 6-3 behind Nicky Lopez's 2-run single that kept a 4-run 10th inning. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.